I think there's a nice update as of right now when it comes to Polkadot. And what is that? Not too long ago, it was announced that Cointelegraph is running a validator on Polkadot as part of its new initiative, quite essentially. Now, also, I'd like to kind of mention how Cointelegraph's Live Validator initiative, powering decentralization across Solana, Polkadot, Chiliz, Mantra, and also some others. But again, right, it's not like Cointelegraph is only focusing on Polkadot, but I do like this because Cointelegraph is pretty massive. If we think about it, when it comes to this space, that's pretty much some people's like go-to place to get news and whatnot. So then I kind of find that very fascinating, and I like this direction because usually people are like, oh man, no one cares about Polkadot anymore, take a look what happened. I actually saw a post not too long ago and someone was like, oh, Polkadot is done forever, take a look at what it's done ever since 2021. Well, here's the thing. I get it, Polkadot's native token hasn't been doing the best, but really, many projects out there that were massive back in 2021, they're not doing so good as of right now. Like for instance, take a look at VeChain, take a look at something like Algorand, take a look at Avalanche. Now I get it, something like Solana, something like Bitcoin, Ethereum, they have gone on to recover pretty good. And take a look at, of course, something like Solana, which hypothetically has done very good, and also Bitcoin, of course, right? But then it's not like that is the norm for every project out there. So then the way you take a look at it is that it's not surprising to me seeing Polkadot do that, because again, it can be said for many of its competitors as well. But then I think Polkadot, in terms of fundamentals, in terms of what it's trying to do within this space, I don't see anything bad about it. Again, the price may not be doing good when it comes to DOT, but then in terms of the fundamentals, I wouldn't say it's bad, because what do people often find that is kind of like annoying, I would say, within this space, right? And that is something that lacks interoperability, meaning that, let's say we take a look at many networks out there, many blockchains, many of them, because they're independent of one another, they can't freely send data and value to each other. Now, again, allegedly, if that is the case, they lack interoperability. So what kind of could step in and save the day? Maybe something like Polkadot, which is focused on interoperability. Just take a look at Bitcoin and Ethereum. They can't freely send data and value to each other. Hypothetically, lacking interoperability, what steps in and saves the day? Something like Polkadot. So this is what I like about it. It's not a useless project. I don't think it's bad by any means, at least in my perspective. Not to mention, when I take a look at Cointelegraph, even focusing on Polkadot, I mean, just think about this. For as massive as Cointelegraph is, they could have easily just said, oh yeah, we're only going to focus on Solana. Maybe some others. Oh, we don't even need to care about Polkadot. You know what I mean? They could have easily done that, but then they didn't do that. Polkadot, by the way, also has Kusama, a canary network, which usually projects that want to launch on Polkadot, typically they start off in Kusama, later they move on to Polkadot. The reason being is because Kusama, it typically is easier to make changes on, and it's usually cheaper to rent building space on Kusama. So it's kind of like a support system in a sense where it's kind of like funneling projects in for Polkadot, because some of them usually start off with Kusama, then they move on to Polkadot later. However, that isn't necessarily always the case, because take a look at Moonriver, which is a very famous project, relatively speaking, and that is on Kusama, right? But I'm just saying, Polkadot, I don't think it's bad. Seeing stuff like this when it comes to the Cointelegraph, I'm very excited. And let's say DOT, its native token, were to go to the price of $50, considering current circulating supply, market cap at that point would be around $80 billion, around a 13x from here. I get it. Some people may think, oh, a 13x and all this, but really, what is Bitcoin going to do? Bitcoin, hypothetically, in my opinion, or at least in my perspective, in the next 6 to 10 months, I don't think it could do that. Some people are saying 300 grand, but that's still slightly less than a 3x from here. DOT may not require that much volume to do a 3x because it is an altcoin and it has a way lower market cap. There's no guarantees, but then that's just my perspective. So if someone said, hey, would you rather choose Bitcoin or DOT? I'm choosing DOT all the way. I mean, why would I choose Bitcoin? For me, the time to get into Bitcoin was a while ago. Not right now, at least in my perspective. Like, I'm not telling anyone to do anything, but this is just what I would rather do. So I'm going to still believe in DOT, but then ultimately speaking, the market, it's not going to listen to me. The only thing that I can do is control myself, and I'm going to still be dollar cost averaging, holding, and just waiting. That's it. Because whenever the markets, let's say, even if it ever decides to wake up again when it comes to altcoins, whenever it decides to do that, I can't control that. I don't know the exact moment in time it will happen, because how can I? Sure, some people out there, they pull up a price chart and draw some random triangles, but then the way you take a look at it is that, is the market going to pay attention to that? Is it going to care? let's say I pulled up a price chart, drew some random triangles. Do you think the market's gonna care about what I have to draw? No. So then instead of doing that, I'd rather focus on the fundamentals and just treat it more like a marathon. I'm dollar cost averaging, holding, and just waiting, and just letting the market do what it wants to do. I can't control that. So then I'm just going to stay patient, hold, and I just wait because I do like the fundamentals of Polkadot. And feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I would greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch you all in the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.